I have almost completely forgotten prison, what it was like, and what I was like while there. The only impression it left, absolutely and irrevocably, is that human beings, all human beings, of whatever race or nationality or religious beliefs or ideology, will do anything and everything. And I think it has partly convinced me, at least I've tried to convince myself, that it has convinced me that I could never be hurt as much as I have already been hurt. Chester Himes.
Jefferson City, Missouri is where Chester Himes is born on July 29, 1909, the youngest of three sons. His father, Joseph, is proud of his African ancestry and knowledgeable about his culture. But Chester's mother, Estelle, believes that the lighter a person's skin is, the better their character.
Chester Himes' mother was surely part of his problem with racism, skin color, and the whole idea of not being good enough to be white, but them not being black enough to be black. I think that his mother, as he speaks about her in his autobiography, he talks about she was almost white, and surely relished the fact that she was of a bright skin tone. Oh, she felt that she should have enjoyed all of the attributes of being white. And she thought that living in a white neighborhood, they lived in a Jewish neighborhood. They went to school where Chester and his brother was one of the few blacks that were at the school. So she really, as I said, thought that being of this lighter hue had certain advantages. Surely in America had certain advantages, and surely early 20th century America had certain advantages. And Chester didn't embrace this as much as his mother would have liked.
His father is a college graduate and earns a decent living as an educator. Soon after Chester's 10th birthday, his father accepts a teaching job at Alcorn A&M College in Mississippi, even though his wife is against it. She's certain the hostile racial climate in the South will stifle them and that her sons can't get a quality education in the heavily segregated South. His mother finally agrees to go, but refuses to allow her three sons to attend public school and teaches them at home. Within months, Chester's mother's unhappiness drives her to devise a plan to discredit her husband. After spending the night in a segregated hotel for whites, she tells management the next morning she is African American. The scandal rocks the city, and when it reaches the college president, he fires Chester's father. His mother's goal to get his father to lose his job worked. In 1921, Chester's father finds a teaching position at Branch Normal College in Pine Bluff, Arkansas, and they move. The next year, a massive explosion during a chemistry experiment in a school assembly injures Chester's brother, Joseph Jr. The first hospital he is taken to won't treat him because of segregation. By the time he gets to one for African Americans, his condition is worse. In the fall, the family moves to St. Louis to place Joseph Jr. in a hospital to treat the resultant blindness. Chester's father is having a rough time finding work and takes a job as a waiter in a beer hall. When Joseph Jr. is not in the hospital, he attends an integrated school for the blind. Chester and his other brother are in segregated schools. In 1926, Chester graduates from high school with below average grades, but he still wants to go further in school. That fall, he enrolls at Ohio State University and makes the fourth highest IQ score in his class. After classes start, Chester's enthusiasm changes when he finds out that the college has a rule that prevents African Americans from living in dormitories. Another one stops them from attending campus events. Downtown, movie theaters section African Americans off from whites in the upper balcony. Restaurants, won't serve them.
Surely at Ohio State University, they couldn't eat in any of the restaurants. They could play football, they could be athletes, but surely they couldn't engage in any of the other extracurricular activities of whites in Ohio. Columbus, Ohio was a very racist town at this time, and blacks did not really enjoy all of the advantages of Ohio State University. They said they could play sports, they could go to class, but right outside of the campus, they could not go and eat in any restaurant of their choice.
When Chester goes home for Christmas break, he has to deal with constant bickering between his parents. As soon as the new semester begins in January 1927, Chester has a fist fight with a lab teacher in class. Chester is disturbed that African American students act in a manner that will make them acceptable to whites. He stops attending classes and flunks every course for the semester.
First of all, I think he was lucky to even get in Ohio State. Well, Ohio State did, if you went to high school in Ohio and then you was a resident, you got to go to Ohio State, but he didn't do well at all. He resisted the teachers. He got in confrontations with his professors, and he thought that their racist attitude was reflected in the way they treated him. So what he tried to do was combat this with his own sense of aggression and his own sense of what he should be doing. And he didn't like school. He wasn't doing good in his grades. His attitude was bad. He didn't enjoy the campus life.
Soon after, when he becomes angry with a group of African American students, he invites them to a speakeasy where illegal liquor is sold to get them in trouble. He is thrown out of school. Chester, now 18, returns home to live with his parents in Cleveland. That summer in 1927, he is uncertain about his future when he meets a group of men. They convince Chester to join their crime operation, and soon he's not only gambling and bootlegging liquor, but tangled in a theft ring. After numerous robberies, Chester is arrested in a robbery with a gun. In 1928, Himes receives a 20 to 25-year term in the Ohio State Penitentiary for armed robbery. The 19-year-old controls the prison's lucrative gambling operation, and in his free time writes to keep from being bored. He decides to make writing his career. The next year, he starts sending short stories to various publications in hopes of reaching his goal. His dream almost dies April 20th, 1930, when he barely escapes death in a prison fire that kills more than 300 inmates. Eventually, several major African American newspapers print some of Himes's stories on prison life and social conditions. Then, in 1934, a story appears in the national magazine, Esquire. Esquire publishes 6 more of his stories while he is in prison. After almost 8 years, he is paroled in May 1936. The next summer, Himes marries and works odd jobs to earn a living. He's hired by the Works Progress Administration digging ditches. Later, Himes works in a writing position for the WPA.